Good evening and welcome to the PlayHQ webinar series, July 2021 edition. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Matt McIntosh, GM of Communications, Marketing and Digital at Basketball Victoria. Before we start the meeting, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we are meeting today, or the lands I should say, of which we are meeting today, and pay my respects to their elders, past, present and emerging. We thank you all for your time this evening and hope everyone's faring as best as they can in lockdown number 5. I'd like to introduce the panel we have this evening. So from Basketball Victoria, we have Ben Paul, our Chief Financial Officer, David Owies, Senior Digital Support Officer, and Kevin Ng, Digital Support Officer. From PlayHQ, we have Ben Beath, one of the founding directors of PlayHQ, Liz Toland, who's the delivery lead, and Ash Block, who's a product SME. And from Teampay, we have Andrew Roberts, who's one of the founding directors of Teampay, and his brother Tim as well. Just some housekeeping. We have a great turnout tonight, so we're happy to take questions along the way. Can I ask you to use the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen and direct any questions to myself or Dave Owies. We can bring them up to the panelists after the end of each section if possible, or we might be able to message you back directly. We'll do our best to get to as many questions as we can during the evening. If we can't get to them all, we will be developing some FAQs to answer your questions, and we will distribute the recording in the coming days after this webinar. So to get us started, I'll pass to Ben Paul to kick us off. Thanks, Benny.
Thanks, Matt. G'day, everybody. I hope you're doing as well as you can possibly be doing in these challenging times. It's great to see so many people turning out tonight to join us. So thank you very much for your time. Kevin and I will give a bit of an update on registration types and how they interact with the BV insurance program, as well as breaking down the program's functionality in PlayHQ, which some of you will already be familiar with, but for others, it will be a new feature. We ran a similar webinar back in March regarding registration types. And during that webinar, I really asked that people, if they take one thing from that webinar, it's this, that participants need to register to each and every season, program or event that they are involved in. And I really want to re-emphasize that tonight. One of the key features or processes, elements of the PlayHQ BV registration process is that players do register to each season. So there's a little misconception out there for some that once you have a BV license, that basically means you can go and play anywhere, anytime, and you don't need to register to the different seasons and programs that you participate in. That's not correct. As part of the insurance claim process, so if someone has a personal injury, obviously the association needs to approve the claim, but then it also comes past BV for final approval. If we can't identify the player and that they were taking part in that season or that program, there's a chance that that claim may be denied, which is certainly something we don't want. So it's really imperative that people have players registering to each and every season and program. There's also a number of examples of activities where the BV license isn't required. We'll go through those a little further as Kev dives into the program's functionality. Yeah, just want to make that point really clear that we need to register each and every time. Associations all now utilising PlayHQ in some capacity, so we encourage all clubs and associations to ensure that they're registering their players correctly in PlayHQ for each of their programs and seasons. Failure to do so and doing it outside the PlayHQ environment could put your club or association public liability coverage at risk. So I really want to emphasise that as well. Moving on to the next slide. I won't spend too much time on the BV license. I think we're all pretty well across it now. It's been in place for 18 months, although basketball has been quite interrupted during that time. And it's been a rocky road to get started with it. Just to recap, junior participants, 17 years and under, the $25. Senior participants, so those over 18, $39. And that provides the participant with a 365-day license. At the time that a player registers for a domestic season or VJBL, junior CBL or tournaments, they're required to hold a BV license, which needs to cover them for the entire length of the season. If they don't have a license at the time of registration, or their license expires before the end of the season they're registering to, they'll need to renew their license, which will be a new $25 or $39 charge, and extend that license period. There are discounts available for inclusion category players, as well as interstate-based tournament players. So if you require any further info on discounts, please contact the support team at support.playhq.com, and they'll be able to help you out. The only other player fee that BV charges is for beginner programs. These include the Basketball Australia run Aussie Hoops program, and also club or association branded beginner programs, which are comparable to Aussie Hoops. These are typically term-based pre-domestic programs for participants who are learning the game, but not yet playing official games. The small registration fee ensures players are covered by the BV Personal Accident Insurance Program, and the club and associations are covered by the BV Public Liability Policy. If you run programs outside of PlayHQ, you may not be covered for the public liability. So it is a new one, and we've had a lot of associations and clubs start their programs through the PlayHQ function. We encourage you all to get across if you are running your own beginner program. It is important to note that the BV license isn't required for every program that a participant may take part in. And Kev will now take you through some of these programs in more detail. So I'll throw it over to Kev.
Thanks for that, Ben, and good evening to everyone. The first thing I want to talk about in PlayHQ is competitions. Now, I won't spend too much time on this because you're all pretty familiar with it by now. So this is for any competitions that you run as an association, but also as a club, you would have been invited to a competition. And as Ben touched on, the BV license is built in for applicable competitions. Now, over on this slide here, competitions that you'd be familiar with, domestic competitions, VJBL, tournaments, Junior CBL, CBL. So they are all competitions that you set up and capture registrations for inside of PlayHQ. There's also a Big V and NBL 1, which utilize a different registration system. Now, moving along to programs, there are two types of programs inside of PlayHQ. There are pre-created programs, and there are also locally created programs. So the reason why we utilize pre-created programs are we use it for any programs that are common and standard across a subset of clubs and associations in the state. We've pre-created it for your convenience and also to ensure that it's standardized. Or we also have a pre-created beginner program that we push down to clubs or associations that include the state body fee that Ben touched on before. Then there are locally created programs that you create yourself. So they're the two types of programs that we have inside of PlayHQ. Now on the right here, some of you may or may not be aware of this program's functionality that appears on the left side of your PlayHQ menu. This was released late last year, and is being utilised quite a fair bit across the state. Now, under the programs area, there are two types of programs. There are as I said before, the pre-created programs, which have this blue badge on it, and anything that you create locally doesn't have the badge on it. So that's the difference between the two. So if you need to set something up that you need something set up for you that's pre-created, the validation for that is that it's got the blue badge on it. On this next slide, we are, I guess, outlining the types of programs that need to be set up by Basketball Victoria for you, which is the pre-created programs over here. So this covers things like your own beginner program that we'll set up for you that has that $5 per term participant fee embedded into it. All of your representative tryouts have been pre-created in your respective club databases to use. I'll go into greater detail later on. And also the country rep squad season, which again, I'll touch on later on. And it refers to those associations that don't participate in a VJBL season. So all of those, if you run any of that, it needs to be pre-created for you, or utilize the ones already pre-created. Outside of that, you can create your own programs for things like holiday camps, clinics, programs that are not beginner programs, such as high performance or rep ready. Any events or wait lists can be utilized. You can utilize your own locally created programs there. And Aussie Hoops, as Ben touched on, is the Basketball Australia beginner program, which uses an alternate system of sports TG. So just to reiterate, beginner programs that are your own branded ones, we need to pre-create for you. All of tryouts, they've been pre-created in your rep club databases, and the country rep squad season has also been pre-created. Everything else you can create yourself. All right, so just the differentiating between the registration systems for the beginner programs. You've got Aussie Hoops, which, as mentioned, continue to use sports TG until further notice. We are in discussions with Basketball Australia about bringing that across the PlayHQ. If you run your own club or association beginner program, what you need to do is request that this program be created in your database, and you can do that at support.playhq.com. We will set that up for you in your database, and it'll be called Beginner Basketball Program. You can also append an alias to that to sub-brand your program to, Future Stars or Little Dribblers or whatever you might call your program, and that can be used to collect your registrations and fees. Moving along to the representative registration process for the various phases of the season, we had a couple scenarios in the recent years where players had become injured during either the tryout process or pre-season training, which caused an issue for us from an insurance point of view, because at that stage they hadn't been selected for a team and hadn't registered for the season proper. So all of a sudden you've got an unregistered player that that has injured themselves and is seeking insurance coverage. So what we've decided to do is we've pre-created tryout programs for the various types of state-run competitions in your rep club database. So you can use the relevant tryout program to take registrations that covers all pre-season activity. And then once the player's been selected and we're about to start the season, we just need to make sure that players are registering to the season itself. So in rep situations, your club would have been invited to the rep season, so you can set up registrations there and have players registered before they take the court. And then if your club then also plays in any junior tournaments around the state, they must register to each and every tournament that they are playing in. Now, over here, I've got a bit of a timeline and an example of how this would work for a VJBL club and VJBL participants. So prior to tryouts, we've all of these programs, these tryout programs have been pre-created in your rep club database. So you can utilize that to capture registrations for tryouts, and everyone who registers for tryouts is then covered for this tryout and pre-season period from an insurance coverage point of view. It's also handy for you to know, who's attending your tryouts. As players become selected, you have the option to cancel the registration of those that don't progress through to the squad, if you like, or just leave them on because you've got more players there that are registered than are actually on the court. So everybody who's involved in your pre-season tryouts or pre-season training is registered and covered by registering to this tryouts pre-created program. Now, before they take the court, and once your club has been invited for the season proper, players for VJBL will then have to register to the VJBL season. And then any tournaments that that particular team participates in, players will have to register for each tournament. Now, here's an example of country junior rep programs who don't necessarily have a competition season that they are registering to. So a lot of smaller country associations will have a squad where the participants will try out for the squad. So utilize the tryouts for squad pre-created program. Once you've selected your squad, have them registered to the junior country rep squad season, which is also another pre-created program that we've set up for you. And we've done this because there's no competition season as such that your club participates in. You can also capture a registration fee for the squad season at this point that they register. And again, any tournaments they participate in, they need to register for each tournament. I won't go into these in great detail, but more of the same. So whether you're running a CBL, Big V, and or NBL program, participants need to register for tryouts to cover for insurance coverage during the pre-season period, and then they need to register to the competition season proper before they step foot on the court. And again, noting that Big V and NBL1 do use an alternate system. Now, what I might do is I might flick over to here and show you guys a couple examples of programs. So it's mentioned on the left here is the Programs tab. Now, this is an example of a metropolitan rep club that participates in both Big V and VJBL. So again, the blue badge denotes the pre-created program that we've pre-set up in all of the rep clubs, all of the appropriate rep clubs, so that you can capture registrations for tryouts before they take place. Moving along, here's an example of a country association. So this is the tryouts pre-created program for the junior country rep squad. So you get players to register to that for tryouts, which covers the tryout and pre-season period. Once they're selected, have them registered to the rep squad season over here. Okay. And then once you're heading off to a tournament, something like that, you will be invited by the tournament administrator, and then all of those registrations take place in this competition section for that particular tournament. Here's an example of a domestic club that runs a beginner program. So this particular club has requested that this program be set up for them. We've set it up for them, and again, it has that $5 participant for beginner program registration fee embedded in that with the blue badge. And here's a locally created program, like a school holiday camp that this particular club has set up. So once you've got all the programs set up with the appropriate pre-created or locally created program, program registration forms, you've got the option, just like domestic competitions, you've got the option of having your registration form for the program visible on your club page. And then once you click into it, the registration flow is more or less similar to what you're familiar with at domestic level. Now, so just to reiterate, these are the different registration types in these various boxes. Okay, so this will be sent around for everyone because I know it's a fair bit to take in at the moment, but all of your competitions where matches are fixtured, they take place in the competition space. For your own beginner program, all rep tryouts and junior country rep squad season, that you do need to utilize a pre-created program. So if it's not already pre-created, all of these rep tryouts and squad season should be set up for you. If they're not, please get in touch with us. And if you run your own beginner program, again, please get in touch with us at support.playhq.com and we will set that up for you. Anything else you run, you can set up yourself as a locally created program. That does not need to be pre-created for you. And just noting again that Big V, NBL1 and Aussie Hoops uses an alternate system. Now, as Ben touched on, the BV license covers the blue ones here. So from a fee perspective, from Basketball Victoria's point of view, we charge the BV license only for those 4 types of competitions, okay? And we charge the beginner program for the orange programs only. Everything else, there's no fees attached to it. As Ben mentioned again, the whole bit of a misconception of the BV license, right? You can register to a holiday camp, not participate in a beginner program, or have a BV license because you don't participate in any of these types of competitions and you're still covered. So the key point again is ensure the right type of registration process is used by your club or association, and ensure that participants are registered to everything that they do. All right, I might just throw back to Matt, see if there are any questions.
Thanks, Kev. We've answered a fair few in the chat, but there's a couple I might get you to answer
Sure.
well. There was a couple of questions just about registration or the use of the BV license mid-season and notifications there, or what happens when someone's license expires mid-season. So can you just clarify?
Yeah, sure. So the BV license check is done at the point of registration to a season. So it is not actually possible for someone's BV license to run out mid-season. at the point that they register to a season, the system will check, does this person have a BV license at all? If they don't have a BV license at all, or if they've got a BV license that expires before the end of the season that they are registering to, the system will make them pay for a new 365-day license or a 365-day extension at the point that they register to. So if they are in your participant list, they are covered for the entire season. They've got a BV license that goes beyond the end of the season. Hope that answers that question.
Yeah, pretty much. There's one from Trish. So what happens with rep ready programs that happen before tryouts? How should they be treated?
Yeah, not a problem at all. Rep ready programs falls under this category here, under programs that are not beginner. So you can go ahead and set that up in your rep club database or your association database, whichever way you like to do that. Players can register to that and participate in those programs, because if they're registered to that program that you've set up, they're covered for insurance. It's only if you want to set up for tryouts and take registrations for tryouts that you need to use these pre-created programs. So that can take place at any time, any of these programs here.
I think we might keep moving. There's a fair few questions here, but we will try and answer them offline. Yeah, we'll keep going at this stage, if that's all right.
Cool. All right, cheers. So that's all for me, Matt. So I might pass back to you to hand over to our next presenter.
Thank you. Next slide, if that's cool. Yeah, cool. I introduced Ben before, but I'll do it again. So Ben is one of the founding directors of PlayHQ. And I would like to pass over to him to talk through the mission and vision.
Thank you. And I'm joined with a couple of fellow PlayHQians, I guess we're calling ourselves, PlayHQers, in Liz and Ash, who you'll hear from in a bit as well. Thanks for everyone being on the call, and it's great to be able to talk to you a little bit about this. And some of you will be well across what we're trying to do with PlayHQ and what we are doing, and others will be this will be new information for you. We got started back in late 2018, really out of some consulting that was done by an organisation called Codeware across a number of different sporting codes that identified that I guess the management of competitions and the participant experience had room for improvement, and had really missed a number of technology uplifts that had happened over the last decade. And we set about building a platform that could really be useful and be loved by three different groups who all come together to make grassroots sports work. Admins at a club and association level, which is the goal of our session tonight. Participants, and building out a really rich participant experience that over time would grow to become valued by them and start to be something that added to their experience of the game. And then of course the national and state-based sporting bodies that oversee a lot of the game, facilitate the organisation of the game across multiple different levels, and bring it to life at both a funding and a competition level, a tournament level. So those different stakeholder groups don't always see eye to eye, and PlayHQ was started with a vision of bringing that to life. And what we found, I guess, initially was that Basketball Victoria was incredibly willing to go on this journey with us and bring this vision to life. And I think none of us expected it to be easy, and there's still a lot of work to do. But I'm really pleased that after just over 2 and a bit years that we've been at this, we're now at 80 people. So there's 80 people working in PlayHQ every day, building out new features, trying to get more and more robustness into the platform, and more and more integration with other services. That collection of people, that 80 people, has been assembled from startups that you would, or technology businesses that you would use every day, and we're attracting a really interesting set of technology people, engineers, product builders, designers, all of whom, all 80 of us, are really just passionate about building something that's great for sports. And I guess the key thing to note is that we're here for the long haul on this. we've made a lot of hard decisions early to ensure that we're a business that's going to be here for our clubs and associations for decades to come, and we're not going to be encumbered by making poor decisions early that will add weight to our build. So that's the biggest thing that we grapple with day to day at PlayHQ is we want to build things as fast as we can, but we also want to make sure that we build technology that scales for hundreds of thousands of users and is great for a long time to come. If you go to the next slide, talk a little bit a bit more about our vision. So Basketball Victoria really let out with us and made a significant commitment to ensure that PlayHQ had a chance to prove that a new approach was the right approach. And what we've seen since then is other basketball states start to take notice and join the platform. And already we've got Basketball ACT and Tasmania on board onto the platform. And then separately, we've been extending out some of that core functionality to enable other sporting codes to be part of the journey as well. And some of you might ask, well, hang on, this is a basketball product. Why would we have cricket and netball and the AFL using some of this functionality around things like registration and payments and competition management? And the reason is that the power of aggregation here, the big budgets that come with some of those larger sports, being able to essentially take their requirements and build out new features for all of our participants, associations and clubs, means that we're starting to get a pace of innovation that we think over the next 18 months will get you all really excited with just how rich the product becomes, the platform becomes, and also how quickly we're able to innovate and take feedback. So there's a job to be done here to aggregate all of these sports onto one, but we're a long way through that, and we are already starting to see some of the benefits. The key things that we're focused on at the moment are the core of what makes basketball and other sports run: registrations, payments, managing competitions, fixturing them, electronic scoring, which is in use widely across Victoria now, stats and program management, which you've heard a little bit about from Kevin just now. They're our core. And then on top of that, we're building a lot of integrations with third parties that you'll hear a bit about when Ash talks to the roadmap. Finally, if you go to the next slide, the vision that we're also trying to bring to life in parallel. So for all of you admins out there and volunteers who are running the games and making sure that the hundreds of thousands of people who play basketball in Victoria have a good experience. We're trying to build out a heap of functionality for you, but also we're trying to create a participant experience that's going to be really, really seamless for players and particularly parents. And the goal here is to substantially reduce the friction that parents of who have a number of kids or busy families or even people who play a couple of different sports experience when they're having to log into all these different systems. And because we've been able to aggregate some of the leading sports onto the platform already, we're starting to see some of those benefits for our users. So when I store my details within the PlayHQ system, it's there for all of the sports, and my family is set up so that I can easily enter them into a new program for basketball without necessarily having to recreate all those details from scratch. And then behind the scenes, we're working on a lot of engagement tools that we think are going to really delight all the people who play basketball across Victoria and Tasmania and ACT and others to come, no doubt. Things like data visualization, aggregating fixtures and stats into dashboards and widgets that give people some great insight into what happens to the game and also get them excited. And we've seen with some of the video integration that we've been working on that there's no doubt that it could be an under 12s basketball match, but people still love the data. They still want to see what's happening, and they still want to be able to track and share and engage with the data in that way. And basketball is our real focus for that at the moment, because basketball is such a data-rich game. It's collected in such a real-time way on a very confined court, and there's a lot that we think we can do over the next 18 months or so to really bring that data story to life for both the admins who are running the game, but most importantly the players who are playing it. So in closing, we've been on a bit of a listening tour over the past three or so weeks, where we've met with about 20 different associations and clubs. It's been absolutely fascinating hearing some of the things that you want to see us working on next. It's been fantastic to hear how many of those associations and clubs are getting some value out of PlayHQ after really a pretty short time that we've been building it. But we know there's a lot to do. There's a lot of requests coming in, and we know that there's a lot of priorities that we've got to juggle to make sure that all of you have the platform that you want. And so we're working hard on that. I'm going to hand to Ash now, who'll take you through the roadmap and also what's being released in the next couple of weeks, I think, or next week actually. And as you look over that, I'd invite you to just consider how much functionality is being built as we build this out. So I think it's pretty impressive. There's always more to do. We're really keen to hear from you what those priorities are. But in the meantime, we'll just get down and keep building and try and build something fantastic together. Ash, I'll throw to you to talk about the roadmap. Thanks, folks.
Thanks, Ben. Thank you for everyone for joining tonight. It's really great to have clubs and associations on the call alike. I know last time we got to chat to quite a few associations, but it's really nice to see the clubs here as well. For those that didn't join us last time, my name's Ash Block. I've been with PlayHQ for a few months now and work really closely with the Basketball Vic team on how we can continue to roll out PlayHQ and maximise it so you can grow your clubs and associations. So Ben mentioned a lot of smart people there in terms of front-end developers and back-end developers and engineers. I don't fit into that category. I actually come from a sports background. So I've worked at Tennis Australia for 8 years before moving to PlayHQ, but probably more importantly, a bit of comp admin experience in the basketball space. So really enjoying working with the BV team again. I'm just going to jump into our roadmap. You would have seen in the email that we sent around regarding the webinar a pretty detailed roadmap. I'm going to touch on a few of those items today, and you'll see some of those vision items that Ben just spoke to, how we're starting to bring those to life now as well, which is really exciting. So I'll firstly just quickly touch on some of the items that we've recently released. The first one's our MyTeams function feature. And again, Ben just spoke to this and how important that family view is, and we're starting to build that out now. So we're actually going to give a little bit of a demo of this one after I go through these next few slides. So you'll see what that's like and encourage you to make sure all of your participants are making the most of this feature. The other one we've got there is the finals eligibility management. So know how important that is for your competitions to be able to manage your eligibility requirements and ensure that only players that have qualified are actually eligible. So that's there and live in platform now. So there's support guides and things like that available if you haven't been able to go in and utilize that one just yet. I'll just jump into what is a very big release that we're preparing to release to you next Monday on the 26th of July. So I won't go into each of these individually. You can take your time to read some up on the screen. And as always, we'll share the release notes, and there was some content in the email that you would have seen as well. But the important one to note there at the top is transfer auto approvals. So just a quick note to go in on the 26th and actually see if you've got any transfers that are outstanding by your organisation, because what will actually happen now in PlayHQ to ensure participants continue through that registration flow is transfers will actually auto approve after a set number of days. And the association can set what that day limit is. So at the moment it'll be set to 3, but associations can go in and increase or decrease that if they like. And then each organisation that needs to action that, whether it's club or association, needs to action that transfer. If they don't, it will just auto approve after that set time. So just an important one for you to note next week, to just go in and check any transfers that are outstanding. That way they don't auto approve without you knowing. Another one that I will mention that's on that list is participant incident and suspension management. So we do have that coming out where you can suspend your players for behavioural incidents. BV are actually going to run a webinar specifically around this, around the tribunal processes in the coming weeks, I believe. But just one thing to note, that if a player does get suspended at one association, that suspension will actually apply across all associations, which is obviously a lot easier to manage, and they'll be flagged that way so you can see them. The other one I'll speak to is the player points, or the rep player weighting. So we think this is important probably for your VJBL players when you're limiting the number of VJBL players in domestic games. you can give them a points allocation and actually restrict to say, okay, well, we can only have 4 1-point players in each domestic team, and the system will allow that, and make sure that teams aren't over allocating in that area. And the final one for this release that I'll talk to, as I said, it's a pretty big release coming up, is our gender diverse field. So we're really excited about this. We've actually partnered with Pride in Sport Australia and done some work in this area to make sure we're being making sure we're being very inclusive, along with our partner sports as well. So a lot of you would be aware at the moment our gender options are male, female, and other. So we're updating that terminology to make sure it's more inclusive. And what we'll have now is male, female, non-binary, differently identify, and people can then specify with the text box if they wish, and then prefer not to say. And those changes will be reflected through the admin portal as well, so you can see that information. Jump to the next slide. So that's all coming up on the 26th, and then these items are currently in development on what we're working on, and will be coming in the future. So we're going to continue to build out this MyTeams functionality that we're about to show you. So that'll also include the ability for team managers and coaches and team organisers to see their participant details. So rather than needing to give admin access to everyone who's involved with your club, you can just give it to who you need, and then these sort of roles can just manage this through their participant portal, which is obviously a great benefit and a lot easier for them. They don't need to filter through other screens to find that information. One that I know is going to make a lot of people on this call very happy, and I think I've seen a few questions come through about this, is our player stats functionality. So our team's actually starting to build that out at the moment, and that'll be coming over the next few months, where you'll be able to see player participation history, stats, points scored, and things like that from within the admin portal, and we'll also reflect that in the participant portal. So I know that's one that everyone is very excited about. A few other ones there. So the live scoring one, again, Ben spoke to that vision of what we want that portal to be. So live scoring is key to that. So we can actually, give updates live, and it really plays into our vision where we want to make all the little games big games. The ability for people to be able to go on and see any basketball game that's going on and what's happening live is something that's really exciting, and another great way to engage participants. There's a few others there that I can just let you read through, but a few more for the participant portal. So again, a few things around profile matching and management, just to stop the number of duplicates that are coming that may come through. We're actually going to try and stop them at the point of registration now. So when a participant registers, if there's any profiles that already exist that looks like them, they'll be offered the ability to merge those profiles into their own. Another one that I know people have asked about a lot is the email management. So the ability for participants to update their own email address is really important. And again, those season statistics. So not only are we building out that to be visible in the admin portal, we'll also make sure that further stats are available from a participant's profile in the participant portal, so people can go on and view them and see them. Although for someone like myself, I'd probably rather keep my no scores hidden, but obviously a really exciting way. And again, another way we're engaging participants as we move through. And then things that we'll schedule down the track, buy now, pay later. So the ability to pay over installments and things like that, as well as continuing to build out that stat functionality. So leaderboards and season leaders and things like that will come later as well. We're just going to now jump in and show you some of these MyTeams features. So we've got our mobile view here. As we know, most of our participants are probably viewing this page on their mobile. They can come in and view their fixtures and results. But what we're really excited about is this the participant portal. We're starting to build this out. So as you can see, we're logged in as Steve here. If Steve goes to his account, we can now see that we've got a MyTeams tab option there, and we can see the teams that Steve plays in. So we've got the Phoenix Suns here that Steve's a part of. So we click on that. He can actually go in and get a really quick view of the fixture for his team. So if he was in multiple teams, they would all appear there. So there's no need to use that search tool to search for the association he's looking for. He can go straight to his MyTeams functionality, come in and see his upcoming games, or he might want to click on one of the past games. So if we go to round 2, he can click on the past games and see all of the stats that are associated with that particular game and view it that way. You can navigate to the advanced stats if they want as well. So all sitting there, and now we're just coming up with a new way to surface that as well across the participant. So we go back to Steve's profile. If they also have dependents, so again, that family view, we spoke about how important that is, people trying to manage multiple kids. There's kids running around to different sporting events every weekend. All of Steve's dependents sit under his profile. So if we now click on Kate, we can now also see that Kate has a profile. Now you'll notice that on Kate's profile, there's an AFL drop-down box. So if we look at that multi-sport lens, Kate might be involved in AFL and basketball. So she's got her AFL teams there, but if we click on basketball, also see those basketball teams listed in there, and again, be able to navigate to the fixture really quickly and see all of those upcoming games. And similar with the final child there, we click on that one, again, you can see it, quick links to their fixture. So a really easy way for parents to navigate between their kids and their own fixtures and results, and the ability for the stats. So this is a part of the platform that we're really excited about. We think we can grow it out over time, and it's going to be a really great way to engage all of our participants. That was everything we wanted to demo. I can see there's quite a few questions coming through, Matt. Is there any that you wanted me to answer, or is it something we'll follow up offline?
We've got one of our favorites. Is there going to be an app available? Do you want to answer that one?
So I guess in terms of the app, the site is mobile responsive, so you can always get to it on a mobile phone. You can save it to your home screen and you can view everything there. I know some associations have actually got their own apps as well, and they've been able to embed our site by using this MyTeams functionality in their own app. So it's not necessarily, you know, something that's on our radar in the short term, and, you know, that mobile friendly, save it to your home screen does the job of an app anyway.
Thank you. With the MyTeams feature, will there be an ability to see an overall summary of family games rather than navigating to each participant?
I think, yeah, longer term, there's a lot of things that we think we can do around that and make it easy. So this is just the start of that MyTeams participant portal. It's something that we've got big plans for in the future.
Does MyTeams also apply to coaches and team managers, not just players?
Yeah, it will, and they'll have the ability to also see their squad details in the coming months as well. So a bit of a one-stop shop for that role.
There's a few more there, but we might take them offline. I'll answer them in FAQs just to keep going. Thanks, Ash.
Thanks, everyone.
Pass
back over to you, Matt.
So now I'd like to introduce Andrew from Teampay. He's just going to roll through. So Basketball Victoria have a partnership with Teampay, and Teampay have a partnership with PlayHQ. We've been working closely together to make sure that there's a successful integration between PlayHQ and Teampay. So I'll pass on to Andrew now to give more information.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Matt, and good evening, everyone. Thank you for your time. We're really excited tonight to bring you a first look at the Teampay and PlayHQ integration. But before we get in, for those of you that we haven't met or don't know us, my name is Andrew, and to my right is Tim, and we are the co-founders of Teampay. And yes, we are brothers, as Matt pointed out at the start of the call. At Teampay, we exist simply to make the game day payment process simpler and safer for players. Through the Teampay app, we allow players to transact with their association or club in a safer, more hygienic method, and do that digitally. As Matt mentioned, at the back end of last year, we partnered with Basketball Victoria as we saw an opportunity to bring an innovative new way of game day payments to the basketball community in Victoria. And so in the last sort of 6 to 12 months, we've successfully onboarded over 30 associations and a number of clubs that are now using Teampay on a weekly basis to manage and capture their game day payments. As part of that partnership was also partnership and integration with PlayHQ. And as I mentioned, we're really excited to show to you tonight the output benefits of this first integration and how that will make the management of game day payments from an association and club perspective even easier. Before we jump into that look at the integration, I thought I'd just give you a brief overview for those of you that aren't familiar with Teampay on how Teampay works from a player's or manager's perspective or coach. I'll hand over to Tim now, and he'll quickly run us through how it works.
Yeah, so the platform allows you to facilitate both the team sheet fee or the per player individual fee model, and it's really up to you at your organisation how you'd wish to transact with your members. And so on this slide here, we can see example of the team sheet fee. And so the way it works is the team manager or the team captain logs into the Teampay app on game day and selects who's playing. That will then divide the team sheet fee evenly amongst each of the participants that are selected. And then all they need to do is tap confirm to process payment. Payment will take anywhere from 30 seconds up to a minute or so, and then a payment approval screen will appear, which you can see there on the third phone. You at the organisation are then notified in real time that the payment has gone through and that team is good to take the court. If you just jump to the next slide there, Matt, this one here is the per player fee, and it works in almost exact same way as in the team manager or the team captain can log into the app. Again, they can select who's playing, but instead of it splitting a payment evenly amongst the participants, it will charge each individual the exact same amount. So in this scenario, $6, and then they can again tap confirm to process the payment. Because it's not splitting a fee as such, if more players arrive, it's really easy for a team manager or a team captain to go in and charge more players, and then that'll just aggregate to the total for the team. There is also the functionality to be able to offer a discount if a player so qualifies, and that can be managed through your Teampay dashboard. We have also built out the functionality in the per player model to be able to allow an individual or a parent to be able to go in and just pay for their individual son or daughter. And so they can log in like normal. It will allow them to charge for next game, but instead of having the ability to select everyone, they'll only be able to select themselves or their son or daughter and make their individual payment should they wish. Again, you'll be notified in real time once the payment has gone through. And in the per player model, it'll show you how many players from the team have paid and the transaction value that has been received. If you jump to the next one, Matt, you'll see here that this is the current overview of the Teampay dashboard and how you're monitoring those payments. And as you can see, it'll auto default to the date. And as it's currently constructed, it's broken down by division. And so you can see clearly all those teams that are grayed out are yet to make payment. But as a team makes payment and that full payment is received, it'll illuminate on your dashboard in real time to let you and your game day staff know that, yep, the payment has been received. This team is good to take the court.
So if we click into the next slide, this is where you'll start to see the benefits of the PlayHQ integration. And you can see in your Teampay dashboard now, there's a lot more information coming in. Once you've integrated your PlayHQ fixture with Teampay, it will auto sync here into the dashboard, bringing in the full fixture for a particular day. You can see there now that the games are displayed by game or matchup. They're also displayed by game time. The other important information on there is the stadium that game is playing on, or playing at, sorry, and also the court. It works in the same way that as a team makes payment, that they would continue to illuminate to confirm that they are paid and ready to go. And those teams that haven't made payment will remain grayed out. If we flick over to the next side, one of the real benefits, obviously, of the integration will be the ability to create your own views through a filtering system. And you can see some of the filters listed up there on the dashboard. And so the first filter there allows you to filter via stadium or venue. So if you're an association or club that runs across multiple venues, you'll be able to filter your games to display only those games playing at a particular venue. This will then list those games and make the process of seeing who's paid even simpler, as it only will display the games at that venue. You'll be able to filter by division or grade. So if you need to see what teams from a particular grade have paid for the day, you'll be able to view that as well. You'll be able to view or filter by time slot. As I mentioned, as you scroll down, it will list all the games by the different time slots. But if you want to drill into a particular time slot, you'll have the ability to filter that view on your dashboard. You'll be able to drill down to a court level, and we'll touch on that a little bit more shortly. And then finally, you will be able to filter by payment status. So if you need to create a view of all the teams that are yet to pay for a particular day, you'll be able to filter that view, helping with the management of those game day payments. If we click over to the next slide, you'll see here the drilling down or customizing a court view. And where we see this as being really powerful is for those court controller teams or operation teams on game day. Rather than sitting at a desk at the front of the stadium, organising cash and change for teams, they can now be deployed using an iPad or a connected device, being able to manage and monitor those individual court payments in real time, being able to drill down to a particular court and see, have both teams played? And if so, can we start the game? And so if we click onto the next slide, you'll see just how that would look there. So that will display all games for court 2 over a particular day. And if we were to scroll down, this isn't a live demo, it would display all the matchups there. So again, creating efficiency and operational benefit for court controllers for competition management and game day management through an enhanced view in your Teampay dashboard. So that gives you a little bit of a taste and a look at the first iteration of the Teampay and PlayHQ integration. There'll be a number of output benefits if we click onto the next slide for associations and clubs. We talked about that extra data, that fixture that's coming in, making the management and viewing of game payments even easier and simpler. The improved operational efficiency on game day. We've got a number of associations and clubs that now only accept game day payments through Teampay. So they've been able to go cashless, get away with FPOS fees and realise those cost benefits of centralising their payments into a single system. Obviously, you'll now get fixture reporting and payment reporting against the fixture, which continues and makes that reconciliation even easier. A full audit trail of every team payment and player payment that you can reconcile against your game day fixtures. And then lastly, the setup process becomes simplified as well. Any changes that you make in your PlayHQ fixture will auto sync into your Teampay dashboard. So you're no longer having to make manual changes or adjustments. It will import or auto sync in your teams list as well. And so that setup process becomes even easier as a result of that integration. So that gives you a little bit of an idea and snapshot on the integration with PlayHQ. As we mentioned, we're really excited to work with PlayHQ and BV to deliver this to you. In terms of timings and where that's at, we've been working really closely with the team at PlayHQ and are currently in testing of the integration. Over the coming weeks, we'll start to pilot that integration with a couple of our existing Teampay association and clubs in Victoria that are using Teampay. Once we've done that pilot program and we're comfortable, we will make it available for general release. And at this stage, we're looking and aiming for a September release of the integration. Obviously, we'll keep you posted as we progress, but that's our timelines at this moment. So for those of you that are partner organisations with Teampay already. We'll obviously be in contact with you over the coming weeks to get your integration set up and ready for the release. But for any of the other organisations, associations and clubs that maybe we've spoken to in the past or would like to know more about Teampay, we'd love to chat to you and discuss with you how we can simplify and streamline that game day payment process for you. On the screen there, you'll see Paul's details. He heads up our sales down in Victoria. Please do reach out to him, or you can reach out to Tim and I at any time as well, and we'd love to help you. That's it from us, Matt.
Great, thanks so much. We'll be sending out this recording, obviously, so people can reread through the presentation of Teampay, and then obviously go direct to Paul in need if you have any specific questions. I might just see if there's any. There's a lot of questions, but someone's asked about Teampay for VJBL door payments. I know we've all been in discussions about VJBL. My understanding is we'll aim for next season, next year, because there's a bit of work to go, obviously, and we're waiting for that integration. Is that correct?
Yeah, the integration will definitely allow us to unlock use in the VJBL, the ability to know where, as teams play at different venues each week, the ability to be able to send the money directly to the venue that they're playing off is reliant on us having access to a fixture. Now that we have that and we'll integrate with that, we'll be able to pick that conversation up, and definitely we'll keep you posted on that.
And there's one about will Teampay be able to stop teams being able to check in players into the PlayHQ e-scoring system unless the team fee has been paid? And I know this is on the wish list at the moment.
Yeah, good question. In this first iteration of the integration, that won't be available. There's a number of further benefits and enhancements that we're going to look to deliver with PlayHQ over the coming months. There's quite a bit of stuff to still scope out. At this stage in this first iteration of the integration, that won't be available, but definitely something we'd be looking to deliver in the not too distant future.
And one more, just as a question on fees. So who pays the fees? Does it come out of the game fee or added to the game fee?
Yeah, so it's a good question. Our fee structure or model is that it's really up to you where you want that fee to sit. We charge a small service fee or transaction fee that typically is worn by the player. Most of our partner associations do pass that fee on to the player. There is no cost for you as an association or club to accept payment through Teampay. So typically, yes, that payment is being passed on and worn by the player. So if you set your fee at $70, for example, as a game fee, you receive the full $70. The players would be charged their portion plus that small transaction fee. Great,
thank you. There's a few more here. I think we'll probably take a lot of them offline and answer in the FAQs, considering it's 7:30. So we might wrap it up there. Thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. There was a large group, which is great, and we did our best to answer as many questions as we could. We will send the recording out in the next day or so, as well as the FAQs. If you have any specific questions, please make sure you contact Kev or David in the support team at support.playhq.com. Thanks for your time tonight, and we look forward to seeing you next time.